Rob, there are a few more developments we've been following and talking about this scandal at Michigan with Jim Harbaugh and his coaching staff. Rob G, kind of update us on the latest.
Well, actually, we had more news come down here in the last maybe 10 minutes or so.
Now what happened?
According to multiple outlets now, it turns out that Connor Stalions, the employee in question on the Michigan coaching staff, purchased tickets to scout several games outside of the Big Ten, including against Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, in preparation for any playoff games that may be involved. And that's the latest as in the last, 10 minutes.
Now, there was talk, though, Brady Quinn on the show here on Fox Sports Radio, Two Pros and a Cup of Joe with LeVar Arrington and Jonas Knox. And they talked, Brady has said that this type of thing is commonplace in college sports. I believe that's what he said. Here he is, verbatim.
The whole thing seems really fishy. Every little piece of it. And I know there's probably Ohio State fans that are like, oh, it's Michigan, they cheated. It's like, well, be careful. Be careful now, all right? I'm just telling you, a lot of coaches that I've talked to don't want to talk about it or make any public accusations for a reason. For a reason. And anyone who's out there that says, oh, this doesn't go on, it's just Michigan, they're lying to you or they're ignorant to how the game of football is today, at least at the college level.
Rob, that goes along with what Paul Feinbaum, I remember I was talking yesterday about, he said something on ESPN where he was like, it feels like they're just, the NCAA is going after Harbaugh because he didn't cooperate to their liking, with the earlier investigation regarding him. That kind of sounds like something similar to what Brady Quinn is saying. But go ahead.
I got pushback on Brady Quinn. And just because, see, this is the problem that I have. I get it. He was a college football star. He knows a lot of people in college football. That's his job. He talks to people. And the same thing, what happens is you feel like you got to protect people and you got to Urban Meyer, he wanted to protect Urban Meyer despite what was going on.
And I don't know how you did, whether you like Urban or not. I don't have anything against him, but it was hard to defend the stuff.
And that's what I'm saying, Chris. I'm not saying you got to bury the guy, but you can't defend some of the stuff. And this is, again, I don't know what his relationship is with Jim Harbaugh, but to totally poo-poo. Now, if he wants to say to me, I have evidence that Alabama does this, and I have evidence that some other schools they do it as well, Chris. And you want to give it to me like that, and the NCAA has turned their heads. Now I want to listen to Brady Quinn, but just to say that everybody does it, no. You show me another school where you have an employee who's buying tickets, Chris, at these games, which is against NCAA rules. Show me. I'm not saying that people don't try to get edges, but Michigan got caught so far, according to the evidence that I've seen. And they still have to have their day, with the NCAA in court or whatever you want to call it,
Right.
But to just throw a blanket, it's like, well, everybody cheats on their taxes. No, everybody doesn't cheat on their taxes. And Brady Quinn can say that. Can you imagine if Brady Quinn, when he was in college, played in the national championship game and found out that the other school had his signals, Chris, and they lost? Don't tell me everybody's cool with that. Bill Belichick is the only NFL head coach, Chris, that I know that was fined $500,000 for a fine and lost draft picks for recording signals. Nobody else. And the other guy who got busted is Josh McDaniels. And it cost him his job in Denver. Those are the only two coaches I know. And I'm not saying I'm not blind or covering my eyes that stuff don't go on, Chris.
Right.
But you just can't throw a blanket and make an excuse for Michigan that everybody does it, and that's his claim, is that everybody. Who, Brady Quinn? Name who's done it.
He's not going to say that.
Well, then that's my point.
He's not going to name the schools. But I will say this, and I agree with your points about you would rather have something definitive than just, even if he says it's stronger. Because basically the way he said it was that from talking to coaches, they've, they kind of say, like, this happens a lot, and there's a reason coaches aren't doing it. Even if he were to come out, Rob, and say, look, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that most of the teams in the top 25 do this. They do this. What Michigan's doing is not uncommon in the least bit. That's a stronger statement. What I'll say is this, and I don't know if it's common practice or if it's only Michigan. If it is common practice, like if basically most of the teams are doing this, it's well known, and it's, the coaches don't think, it's a big deal that what Michigan is being accused of, then I don't think that gets Michigan off the hook. I think they should still be punished, but I do think it changes the degree of the punishment. Like I said when we talked about it last week when it first came down, if it's true, Harbaugh should be stripped of his victories that were related to this and suspended for the rest of the year. Now, if everybody's doing it, I would not go that far. I think it should be more like a fine. It doesn't excuse you that everybody does it, but to me, it does change the degree of the punishment. If they're the only ones doing it, then I think that gives them much bigger advantage. And so that's how I look at it, Rob.
It's just
if it's everybody doing this, like, it's not that big of a deal, then it just changes the degree of the punishment.
I just think you have a better argument if you're Brady Quinn and you want to give me examples. That's all. Give me examples, and he
can give some details.
Give me some details.
He's not going to say the name of the school.
No, but you got to give me more than just say everybody does it. I mean, I just think that's totally a cop out to give Jim Harbaugh and Michigan a pass, and I don't think that's cool or that's okay to do, because I brought up I'd ask Brady Quinn, well, you mean to tell me Bill Belichick, who's won 6 Super Bowls, he's the coach that they fined and levied the highest fine for a coach in NFL history? That's the guy they came after?
Well, and then
Josh McDaniels is the other guy who was on his staff, Chris, that got busted?
Right.
That?
Like you said, I think a follow-up, if you're in that discussion with Brady Quinn, you can say, well, I mean, he's not going to name the schools. You can ask him that. He obviously wouldn't name them. But you can say, why do you think then they're only going after Harbaugh?
Right.
Like,
come
why?
on, man.
Maybe there's an answer. I don't know. But just press it a little bit. Because, look, Brady, as you said, everybody knows he was defending Urban Meyer, and he does have a history of kind of caping up for the college guys. And so when you have that image, then you do have to come with a little more detail. Because people otherwise going to think, oh, man, come on, you just saying this because
This is Brady Quinn defending college football no matter what goes on. And you just got to get away from that. That's all. And Brady, listen to his show. Brady Quinn knows more about college football than I can ever imagine. But I'm talking about it when you're putting out information and just poo-pooing an investigation. You just got to give me more to make me want to believe. Other than coach, of course, other coaches aren't going to talk about it because they probably have some other violations. You don't want to have people snooping around. And the easiest way to do it, Chris, is to draw attention to yourself, right?
Right.
So that's the
Even
reason.
If you're not guilty, but maybe, you just stuff
you might be
happen.
doing, right. You just don't want to draw attention to yourself from investigators. So I get that. And it's a fraternity, and most of the time, coaches don't point out each other, right? It's a fraternity.
Right,
There's so few people who do that job in America. It's like what Chris and I do. How many guys have national radio shows in the country on a sports network? There might be 20 or 30 guys between us and ESPN, right? That's it. Out of a country of 330 million, do we spend our time talking about what somebody on ESPN said?
We generally don't even go after other
We
media.
don't.
Yeah.
We don't even do that.
That's not our job.
It's not our job. But in this case, I'm just saying you cannot poo-poo what's going on at Michigan. And with all of these details and the camera and the credit cards, Chris, this is credible. This isn't like, hey, maybe, he was at a game or they got all the paperwork.
Oh, they know. There's no guy. The only, let me ask you this: with what I said, if this is, let's just say for the sake of argument, it is happening all over the place. Do you agree with me that you still get punished, but it changes the degree, the magnitude of the punishment?
Yeah, if they really deem it as not the end of the
truth.
world, and
Right.
if it is, but it's like the speeding ticket, Chris, right? People are speeding, but the people get caught usually have to pay the fine, right?
Right, but
like,
you don't lose your car and go to jail.
Right.
I mean, so
Exactly.
that's what I mean by the degree of it.